Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this in the world. I hope you guys are doing okay. So, as you can probably tell from the screen, today we're going to be doing a tier list. Now, by the time you're watching this, I'm probably sitting on a beach somewhere in Okinawa. I wanted to give this video to you guys as soon as possible. Obviously, it's been delayed a little bit. But I'm going to construct my own tier list for Tekken 8. And I'm going to do it in a little bit of a different way to just who is the best on paper. The way I want to do this is who I think is going to be the most effective in the current format of Tekken 8. So as we know, death matches are largely dead. They're gone, they're buried. Harada decided in his infinite wisdom to not bring them back. In my opinion, that was a big mistake, and it's hurt the fun factor of Tekken 8's ranked system just because of the enormousness of the game, how many moves there are per character, how many different play styles there are, and how hard it is to adapt to some play styles sometimes. I think death matches would have really helped alleviate some of that, but only having 2 to 3 matches to really catch on is not good enough in my opinion. But that's how I'm going to base this tier list. So this tier list is not necessarily who's going to be the best characters in the game. It's going to be based on who I think are going to get the best results in Tekken 8 based on the current system we have, and it's the same system they follow in tournaments. I'd like to stress that I'm not doing this for all players of all skill levels. I'm doing this based off who I believe are higher level players, or what I perceive to be high level play. So I'm only basing this off of the most effective ways to play the character and the way you're going to win the most. Now, because this is a tier list, it's going to be quite contentious, and it's not going to be in the fashion that you usually see tier list. But of course, the comment sections are open. We can have a back and forth, and you guys let me know what you think of my tier list. So as I said, I'm going to base this off who I think wins the best 2 out of 3, which is what we have in ranked, and who is going to do the best in tournaments in the game's current form. So essentially, this is going to be who I think the most effective characters are in a short format set. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the least effective and work my ways up to the most effective character. So let's begin. So in my opinion, the least effective character in a short format set is Leroy. This is based off the fact that I believe this character, in his current form, people don't really know how to play with him correctly in my opinion, and that is because he's been nerfed so much. He's been nerfed heavily from when he was in Tekken 7, and I don't think that people have really grasped the character properly. And so when you're in a very short format set, Tekken 8 has a lot of cheats, and I don't think Leroy has that much cheats. He's got quite good chip damage on a lot of his things, but outside of that, he is one of the least cheesiest characters in my opinion. And he also seems like he struggles a lot when it comes to applying pressure or applying mix-ups that are going to lead into setups or carry you over to the wall. He just seems to really struggle in this game, and so I think he's actually the least effective character at the highest level of play. The next character I'm going to put there is Panda. Now, Panda I was a little bit iffy about because Panda's underrepresented, so you could say in a short format set, because not a lot of people play the character might not do that well. And I'd probably entertain that train of thought, but the issue is that I think Panda and Kuma have, although they've got very gimmicky movesets, their movesets are very gimmicky and they can catch you off guard, I don't think they're to the point where it's so overwhelming that you can't put 2 and 2 together. Obviously, we've seen in the past people have picked Panda and gone on to win the Tekken World Tour, but I don't think we live in that time anymore. I think people are more familiar with the bears. They are getting played a little bit more often these days. Now that I've reached the Tekken King rank, approaching Tekken Emperor, I'm definitely seeing them a lot more, and they don't seem as overwhelming to me with their cheese as some other characters. For that reason, I'm also going to put Kuma there. Kuma and Panda are only really separated by their heat burst. Kuma's is obviously better, but outside of that, they're largely the same character. And the last character I'm going to put down here is Zafina. Now, the reason I'm putting Zafina here is because I do think she's been nerfed quite heavily from her Tekken 7 iteration, and even though she's quite rarely picked and so she can catch people off guard in short format sets, I don't think she's actually that effective when compared to some other members of the cast. Now, the reason that I put these guys in D is that I do actually think they sit quite separately and quite further down compared to everybody else. I think they're working much harder than most of the other characters on here. Going beyond this, it's not necessarily going to be who's the best character on paper, because if you want to know who I think the best character on paper is, I've already said multiple times, it's going to be between Dragunov and Feng Wei. On paper, those two characters are 100% the most effective. But like I said, in a short format set, who is cheesing you the most? Because matches in Tekken 8 finish extremely quickly. This game is very, very fast paced, and you can get away with a lot of tomfoolery. And because there's no death matches, there's no way to really educate yourself on your opponent's playstyle. You couple that with some stupid cheese, and you got yourself a big problem. So the next character I'm going to put down here is Asuka. I don't think Asuka is a bad character. I don't think there's any really bad characters in this game. Maybe Leroy would be the only one that I'd consider not great. But I don't think Asuka's got so much cheese that in a short format set you can really get like run over. It doesn't seem overwhelming to me. And so I do think Asuka players, they do have to work a little bit harder than some other people. The next character I'm going to put here might be a little bit of a controversial one, but I do think that this character struggles a little bit and has a little less cheese than most other people, and in very quick sets I think that he might get overwhelmed a little bit. I don't think that's true for longer sets. I think this character in the right hands can do some real damage, so this isn't really indicative of how good the character is. It's more that I don't think they do very well in quick sets, and that is going to be Steve. The reason I'm putting Steve there is that I do think Steve's a good character, like I said, but it looks like he struggles a little bit. It looks like he has a harder time out cheesing people, and it feels to me like Steve players have to work a bit harder. They have to be a bit more honest when they're playing. I know honest is not really the word that you would associate with Tekken 8 just because of the nature of the game, but I do think that Steve players are not doing the silly Asuzena type of stuff. Like, you're not really seeing that from them. Usually if you're playing a Steve player and they're doing really, really well against you, the Steve player is pretty good at the game. The next character I'm going to put here in C is Raven. I think Raven has some cheese to him, but every time I see him being played, it doesn't feel like he's overwhelming you with anything. I'm not saying he ain't got cheese, he definitely has. Everybody has in Tekken 8, some more than others obviously, but Raven doesn't seem overwhelming to me. I feel like I can manage my set a little better when I'm fighting against a Raven player. It doesn't feel like I'm constantly looking out for one overbearing move. Like I said, with Asuzena's like while running 3-2. Raven feels like he has to truly mix you up, and obviously his mix-ups are pretty good, but I just don't feel the cheesiness, and I don't feel like I've been robbed when I'm playing Raven players. The next character I'm going to put here, maybe some of you will disagree, is Claudio. Claudio to me doesn't feel that different to his Tekken 7 version. I remember when the closed beta test came out and people were very like, you know, Claudio's too strong, he's doing a lot of stupid shit. But since then, it doesn't feel like he's overwhelming to me either. He's definitely got some cheats. That arrow from full screen is bloody annoying, but I believe it's a high. He's also quite easy to telegraph. When he's running at you, he's either going to go for the punch or the knee, and the knee isn't that bad to take. And so a lot of the time, if you duck the punch, you just launch him. He does have a really good hop kick, but I wouldn't say this is the cheesiest character. I definitely think he's a good character. Again, this tier list is not necessarily who is the best character and who's the worst character. It's about who I think can really out cheese you in a quick format set. Just to drive that point home in case people are watching this going, Mike, what the fuck are you talking about, blah, blah, blah. This is who I think is going to do really well in a short format set. So the next character I'm going to put here is going to be, and this is going to be the last person that I put in this bracket, is going to be Feng Wei. No, I'm joking. Before you click off the video, it's not Feng Wei. Relax yourself. The last character that I'm going to put in the C bracket is Shaheen. Now, let me just stress that I do think Shaheen is a very strong character. I do think he's a strong character. I think he's got some good plus frames. Sorry about the meowing in the background. I've got a baby kitten in here. What's wrong, buddy? You okay? You want to sit on my lap? I do think Shaheen's a very good character. It's just, again, he doesn't feel overbearing when I fight against him. It doesn't feel like I'm going to get out cheesed to the point where I need a long set to figure the character out. He seems pretty straightforward in my book. Even his heat burst, a lot of the things that are like armor break are highs, and it's quite easy to telegraph. Well, I say easy, but easier than some of the other things you see in this game. Okay, so we're moving up now. We're moving up to B. So now really this is where the cheese is going to become very prevalent. You can't sit here. You can't sit here. I'm doing a tier list video. Okay, get down. Relax yourself. Relax. It's okay. We're gonna do the next character. Okay, chill out. So the next character that I'm going to put here, I'm so sorry, this kitten is all over the place. The next character I'm going to put here is Paul. Now, I think Paul is a very good character. I think Paul's a very solid character, but I do think Paul works harder than a lot of other characters in this game. I don't think he's that cheesy. I don't think he is overbearing, and yeah, he hits very, very hard. You know, Paul only has to hit you a couple of times in this game, but I guess that could be said about most characters. Obviously, there's situations where you're going to constantly get hit by Death Fist, you're going to constantly get hit by Back Sway 2 and the Demo Man, and those are his three like really annoying attacks, especially in heat. Death Fist is a nightmare to deal with in heat. So I do think Paul can cheese you, but I think he can cheese you a little less than some of the other characters we're going to put on here. Next character I'm going to put here is Brian. Brian to me is a very, very powerful character. When I see Brian players in the ranks that I'm in right now, they're very, very, very difficult to beat. But oftentimes when I'm playing against them, whilst he does have his cheese as well, because it's Tekken 8, that's the name of the game, it does feel like that I get outplayed, especially because I'm a Feng Wei player, and Feng Wei is about as cheesy as they come. The next character that I'm going to put on this list is going to be Li Xiaolan. Again, Li is another character that I do believe can out-cheese you with quite a few things. His lows are pretty good in my opinion. He's very difficult to deal with, but he's one of the harder characters to use in the game, and I think again when people are using him at a higher level, they're doing pretty well. Now there's no actual hard characters to use in this game, they've dumbed down things a lot, but within the realms of this game I'd say Li is probably up there, so I'd put him in the B section. I think it's safe to say that although he can be very cheesy, I do think there is some level of hard work that goes into it. The next character that I'm going to put in here is Kazuya. I think Kazuya is a very strong character, but I think Kazuya players do have to work a bit harder than some people. I think that Kazuya is one of those characters where he can really just destroy you in a few seconds, but because he's purely mix-up based and he's purely a 50-50 character, if he doesn't guess right, he dies very quickly. 2 wrong guesses in this game can kill you. So whilst his devil form does have some annoying cheese in it, that forward 2 with the laser is very irritating, I do think that Kazuya is fair to say that he's probably one of the harder characters to use in the game, or at least to win with. Not execution wise obviously, because like I said, everything's been dumbed down. I think to get his things across in a game that is full of cheese, I think he is one of the harder characters to use. The next character that I'm going to put in here is Martial Law. Again, I think Martial Law is a strong character. I think he's underrepresented as well. I think he's a lot stronger than people might think, at least in my estimation. I think we'll probably see a little bit more of him as time goes on. He's also been made much easier to use, so doing his DSS is much easier now. I think that he can be pretty annoying. That slide into the nunchucks is pretty irritating. It's pretty cheesy. It's a very good mix-up. He has his, I think, the crouch while rising 2, which is a launcher. That mix-up is pretty good. He has some good heat engages. So in a short form match, which is best 2 out of 3, I think Martial Law is a pretty good pick. Right, so we're going to go into A now. So A is going to be filled with quite a lot of characters, as you can see. The first character that I'm going to put in A is Reina. I think Reina's ballerina shit is really irritating. Really irritating. But I do think that if you learn her over time, you can get pretty good at interrupting things. I've started to learn where to interrupt things, but man, in a short form set, this character can be an absolute nightmare, and in the right hands, because I do believe she requires some execution, she can be really irritating to deal with. Again, in a long form set, I don't think Reina does as well, but in a best 2 out of 3, I think this character is running some people over. The next character that I'm going to put there is Lily. Lily, for me, is a personal bane. I hate fighting this character. I think in short form sets, Lily's very powerful. In long form sets, I think it's easier to figure her out, but when you've just got a very short amount of time to grasp a character that does quite good damage and is quite cheesy, I'd put Lily in A. The next character that I'd put in there is probably going to be Yoshimitsu. Yoshimitsu to me is quite a strong character. Flash is very difficult to deal with. In a short form set, you might not be able to know when to interrupt a Yoshimitsu player or when to not go for Flash. I think he's much tougher to fight than he has ever been before, and especially in a short form set, I think that could turn into a real irritation. The next character I'm going to put in here is Jin. I think Jin requires a little bit more work. In the beginning days, we did think he was a lot more easy than what he is, but I do think his execution has been brought down significantly, considering he was probably one of the hardest characters to use in Tekken 7, if not the hardest, next to Akuma, and I would have put him higher. But as I fought Jin, although he is cheesy, don't get me wrong, he's cheesy, I wouldn't put him in S. I'd say he's A for me. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's certainly not the best. Next character I'm going to put in here is Jack 8. Jack 8 is quite cheesy. That new stance he's gotten, the new Gigas moves he's gotten, very annoying to deal with. I don't like fighting this character. It's not the worst to deal with in the world, but he can definitely mix you up and hit you with some cheese, and that heat smash is absolutely ridiculous. So I'll put him in A. I don't think he's quite S. I definitely think there's more cheese in this game than Jack 8, but it's no fun fighting Jack 8. It's very, very irritating. The next character that I'm going to put in here is Horang. Now, I know this might be a bit of a contentious one for people. Horang does irritate a lot of people, but I think when you lab Horang, he's not as bad as you think. He's got quite a lot of highs that you can duck and launch punish. That being said, he's an A for a reason. In a short form set, this character can be an absolute nightmare. He hits like a truck, he's got a good heat smash, he's got good range, he's very good at spacing you out, and you can just get overwhelmed with cheese with this character. So again, in a long form set, this tier list might look a little bit different, but I'm basing this off who I think is going to do the best in terms of winning in very short bursts. The next character that I would put in here is Leo. I think Leo is heavily slept on. This might even increase over time, because even though I hate this character and I think this character is extremely powerful, I don't know enough about them yet to put them in S. But I hate fighting Leo. I think Leo is an underrated character. Even though people consider him strong, I think he's stronger than what people think, and I think that's only going to become apparent over time. I hate fighting Leo. I think I hate fighting Leo more than every other character in this game. It's the one matchup I just can't wrap my head around. I know he's been in since Tekken 6, I just can't grasp it. So I'm trying to make this as unbiased as possible, and that's why I haven't put him in S, but I do think Leo has got some overwhelming shit, and in a short form set, in a high pace, high pressure environment, I think Leo can steal some wins. Next character that I'm going to put in here is Jun. Now I was going to put Jun in S, but when I look at the characters that are remaining on here, I'm not sure she sits in that camp, in my opinion anyway. Her heat smash is very, very cheesy, very, very annoying. I hate dealing with it. When she goes into heat, I'm scared immediately, but I don't think she's S rank just yet. This is based off my own knowledge of the game and what I've been seeing. I think Jun would probably sit in A. The next character, for me personally, is probably going to be Eddie Gordo. Now, Eddie Gordo is very, very cheesy, but one thing I've learned is that he's quite unsafe. So he's in A because in a short form set, I do believe he can run you over quite quickly, even at a higher level. I'm very much looking forward to watching John Ding play this character. I think it's going to get hella cheesy. I might even put him in S one day if I do this again. But I don't think he's the worst. I don't think he's got tools that make you feel like you want to rip your hair out. In my opinion anyway, his lows are very annoying. That whole thing he's got where he levels up, very irritating. He is cheesy for that reason. That's why he's so high on here. But he's not quite S in my opinion. The next character is going to be Nina. Nina is not only powerful, but she's extremely cheesy. I hate fighting this character. Apparently she's a little bit harder to use than some other characters. I don't know how true that is. I know that's been true historically. I don't know about Tekken 8 because everything's been dumbed down. But I would put Nina in A tier. I don't like fighting this character in short form sets. In a deathmatch, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable. Her strings can catch you off guard very quickly. Some of them go into like counter hits, into launchers. Some of them are like very plus on block, and she's got a great wall carry game and high damage. Also, the range on her guns is pretty ridiculous. It sends you halfway across the map in the juggle. So for that reason, Nina is going to be quite high on the tier list. And this brings me now to the cheesiest characters in the game in my opinion. Now like I said, this is not based on who I think the strongest character in the game is. This is based on who I think is going to do well in a short form set, in a tournament setting, or on ranked. So the first character that I'm going to put here, which is going to be the lowest of the top tier in my opinion, is going to be Alyssa. Now Alyssa, as I said, she's at the top for a reason. Chainsaws are hella cheesy. The one good thing is that you can obviously jab her and she puts them away. Anytime you hit her, she puts them away. Shout outs to Frame Whisperer for pointing that out because I didn't know that before. I do think she's crazy cheesy though. When she does have them out, knowing when to jab her, if you're fighting somebody good, that shit is a nightmare. I expect to see Alyssa doing very well in tournament. I expect to see her taking some tournaments, at the very least being in top 8. The next character that I'm going to put there is Lars. Lars, with his recent buff, is just over the top as far as I'm concerned. This character is so stupid. He's a lot of noise on the screen as well. He's making a lot of noise. He's just moving around constantly. He's very disorientating to fight, and that buff has sent him into overdrive. So that is why I'm putting Lars high on this tier list. Before, there was a little bit more complexity in how he will approach you, but with the most recent buff, you're kind of locked in place and you just have to deal with his bullshit. He does have a lot of cheese. He's got that cheesy, stupid aerial grab, cheesy lows, and like I said, he moves around like a ballerina. It's very irritating. The next character I'm going to put on here is King. King's grabs, you know, you just want to rip your hair out every time you fight a King. Every time I see a King, I'm like, oh my god, I'm in for a long day. You're never in the lead when you're fighting King. You could be up and he have like 30% health left and you've got nothing, and he hits you with a death cradle, whatever it's called, the rolling death cradle, and you're down 70% health, so he's essentially equalized it. If he gets a giant swing on you and you hit the wall, you're screwed. If he hits you with his forward neutral too, you're screwed. The character is just maximum cheese. It's very, very irritating to fight. He might not be the easiest character to use, I'm not entirely sure, but King in the right hands, it's a nightmare. I hate it. I can't stand it. And I'm sure a lot of you can't either. The next character I'm going to put here is Devil Jin. Devil Jin is, in my opinion, maybe this is not an opinion shared by everybody, I think he's the strongest Mishima in this game. I also don't think it's particularly close. Reina's very good and Kazuya's good. Like I said, they're both good characters, but Devil Jin is so annoying and so cheesy. He's got stupid evasion attacks. He's got very, very high damage. His hell sweep is strong. He's got very good wall carry. His heat smash is like a shotgun. If you block it, you better start guessing for your life. It's just one thing after another with him. And then obviously to top it all off, he has an electric wind godfist, so as if he didn't have enough. I'm not saying he shouldn't have that because he's a Mishima, so of course he should, but it's just powers and powers and powers of cheese that you're dealing with constantly. It's got an annoying dive kick, which I think can, if I'm not mistaken, it crumples you on counter hit. I can't remember, but either way, I just feel like I am just constantly got my back up against the wall against this character. I hate fighting him. He is a nightmare. The next character in terms of cheese I would put here is going to be Asuzena. Asuzena, in my opinion, is being picked by Arslan Ash, who is currently the best player in the world, for a very good reason. This character is extremely easy to use, has extremely good damage, extremely good evasion tools. She doesn't really have many downsides. In terms of counterplay, I'm struggling to really think of where you would look to this character, so I was considering putting her higher. However, I think the remaining characters might be a bit more cheesy. The next character that I'm going to put there is Feng Wei. And you lot are probably thinking, oh, what? Not top tier? Of course, he's your character. Listen, he's right at the top. I don't know what you want me to say. The last three characters, it's all very good. You could mumble up this order whichever way you want. The top four, in my opinion, maybe top five, Asuzena included, you can jumble them up in terms of who's cheesiest and who's going to steal the most wins. The reason Feng Wei is up here is, I know this probably better than most people, this character was supposed to be death by 1,000 cuts, but now it's like death by 10. He's so strong and hits you at every angle that to figure out how to beat him in only 2 games, potentially 3 games, is incredibly difficult. Because by the time you figured out one thing, he started punching your arms. By the time you figured out that, he's punching your legs. And it's just one thing after another. As I said, I know I'm a Feng Wei main, and whenever I see other Feng Weis on ranked, which I'm starting to see more as I'm going into the higher ranks, it is just a feeling of fear. Like, this character is going to beat me 10 ways from Sunday. The next character I'm going to put there is Ling Xiaoyu. Ling Xiaoyu, I think, is a very cheesy character. Obviously, she evades a lot of your stuff. But I think that in her stances, in my experience anyway, some of them I don't think she can block in. I think if you read an opponent pretty well, then you can punish her. I might be getting this wrong. Don't get me wrong, she's the 3rd one on the tier list, so I still think she's incredibly cheesy. In a short form set against somebody that knows what they're doing, because that's the purpose of this tier list, I think that Ling Xiaoyu is a nightmare to deal with. But I didn't put her higher than that, just because I think that Victor is a nightmare. He's not the best character in the game. He's not even the 2nd best character in the game. I think Feng Wei is the 2nd best. But in a short form set, this character's got so many stupid Devil May Cry style attacks that trying to deal with somebody is awful. Like, it's the worst. His heat smash, terrible. His running 2, whatever that move is, terrible. If it counter hits, you get a launch. It does a lot of damage. His Especion, whatever that move is, awful. Hate dealing with it. Don't ever want to see it. Heat smash is a low. He has a gun. So you happen to not be blocking full screen, no problem. Get shot in the face. He teleports all over the place. You're constantly dealing with these DMC style Virgil teleports. And in a tournament, high pressure, or in a ranked game, high pressure, I believe Victors are just going to run people over. In long form sets, I don't think Victor would be this high. I really don't. But in a short form set where you've got very, very little time to figure out somebody and there's multiple ways to play characters, Victor is just a nightmare. And last but not least is Dragunov. Now, not only is Dragunov the best character in the game, but he is the cheesiest character in the game. This character can beat you with 2 buttons. Running 2 and that low kick where he destroys your shin. He's so over the top, it's unbelievable. Like, it's crazy to me that he hasn't held a harder nerf. He's the best character in the game because he's the cheesiest character in the game, and also he does way too much damage. Way too much damage. So in a long form set, Dragunov is a nightmare. He might even be first place. In a short form set, Dragunov is a nightmare. He's definitely first place. Now, this is the tier list of somebody that, well, I would say that I am more or less a casual player, and this is how I perceive the game when I'm watching higher level players, and when I've gone into a ranked mode. Now I'm in Tekken King, where I'm encountering God of Destructions. I fought my first or second God of Destruction today. I'm watching the Pakistani and Korean players and the Japanese players play online. This is what I'm observing, and this is what I've come up with. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section. Obviously, I'm not the most knowledgeable Tekken player. Can't tell you every single intricate thing in this game. This is just what I feel based on what I've seen and based on what I've fought. Tier lists are very contentious, so you're more than welcome to disagree with me. I'm not going to flame anyone for disagreeing with me. Obviously, you guys let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'd like to hear from you. Again, this is a tier list based on 2 out of 3. It's not necessarily based on who I think the best character is, just who I think is going to do the best in a short form set. So I'll catch you guys next time. Take care and peace.